In this project, we will use ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics to make a cartouche. What's interesting about ancient Egyptian art is that most of it was never meant to be seen. Their artwork had a different purpose. The ancient Egyptians were very religious, so most of their artwork had to do with religion. This is why artwork is found in temples, in tombs to guide people to the afterlife, and in palaces of pharaohs who were considered godlike. Ancient Egyptians used a lot of symbolism in their work. For example, beetles represented transformation, while hawks represented wisdom. Ancient Egyptian art almost always included written words drawn in the form of an alphabet, symbols called hieroglyphics. One symbol in Egyptian art is the Shen ring. It looks like a circle with a line at the bottom, and it's meant to represent a loop of rope. Its meaning is protection for eternity. This picture shows a Shen ring stretched out long into something called a cartouche. When you see hieroglyphics inside the shape of a cartouche or a stretched out Shen ring, it's usually the name of someone really important who the Egyptians wished to have eternal protection. Let's make our own cartouche and inside write our names in hieroglyphics. For this project, you'll need some brown paper. I'm going to use a recycled brown paper bag. You can use construction paper if you have it. You'll need a pencil, some markers, and some scissors. Let's start by making the shape of our cartouche. I'm going to use brown paper just because I don't have gold paper at my house, and brown to me seems a little bit old, like it might be on the wall of a tomb. And I'm just using a bag. You can use construction paper if you want. And I'm going to take out just a few markers because the ancient Egyptians only used 6 colors in their art that were made from paints they made themselves. I'm going to take out the black, the blue, the yellow, the green, and the red. The 6th color would be white, but I don't have a white marker. And what I'm going to do, you guys should use a pencil in case you want to change your shape, but I'm going to use a marker so you can see it. We're going to put our hand down on our paper, and we're going to mark the top of where your hand is and the bottom. So we're going to make our cartouche as tall as our hand. Mine's going to be a little bit too big because I do not have a first grade hand, but yours should be just the right size. Then take 3 fingers and put a line on one side and a line on the other side. So now I have 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines. So I could connect them and make a rectangle, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to round the corners a little bit so that instead of sharp corners, it looks a little bit more like a long oval. And I'm going to make it have a second layer that goes around. And the rope has a knot in it here, so I'm going to put 4 lines here and some bumps, and then a horizontal line here, so just a line that goes side to side. So then I have the shape of my cartouche. The next part is kind of fun because we're going to be writing our names, and it's almost like using a secret code. You're going to take each letter of your name and find the hieroglyphic that goes with that letter. And we are going to draw them with the first letter at the top, the second letter underneath it, the third letter underneath that. So if you have a very long name, you should be drawing your hieroglyphics very tiny. If your name is very short, then you can make your pictures a little bit bigger. If you want to practice on a practice paper first, that's fine. And you can either use the sheet I gave you in your packet, or you can push pause and use this screen as your guide while you draw. I'm going to write my first letter here, my second letter here, third, fourth, and fifth. I'm going to be doing the name of my niece. I usually use her name as an example, and her name is Susan. So she spells her name S-U-S-A-N. So if I look at the hieroglyphic chart, the S looks like a long line with two short lines crossing it. The U looks like a swirl. The S again, same thing. If there are two symbols for the letter, like for example, the letter B has an arm and a foot, you can do your choice. You can choose which one you like better. I do not know the difference between the individual letters like that. Now the A is a bird and looks a little bit more complicated, but I'm noticing shapes. Whenever something looks tricky to draw, I look for shapes, and I'm noticing the bird's head looks like a triangle. Its body looks like an oval. Its tail looks like a triangle. And it has 2 feet that come out like this and an eye. So there's my bird for the A. Maybe give it a little wing. And then for the N, it's just a zigzag, 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 zigzag. So S-U-S-A-N spells Susan. The last step will be that you get to decorate the border around your cartouche. So I'm going to use some of these colors just for fun. And I'm going to make a pattern. So if I start with the red and make a thick line and skip some space, then I could go back and use the blue and maybe do a thin line on each side of the red. And maybe I will even use the yellow to fill in the space between the blues. So I'm going to take a minute to decorate it, and then I'll show you when I'm finished. So here's my finished cartouche with my name. I'm going to be cutting this out to use on our next project. So save this. If you want to cut it out now, you can just cut right along the edge carefully. If you want to just save it for the next project, which we're going to use it as kind of like a little name tag in our next project, then I can leave it like this and cut it out later. So it's your choice. But take a photograph of your cartouche and upload it to Artsonia, and I look forward to seeing your cartouches. Bye.